Any moment now. We'll give YouTube a moment. As usual, I will allow people to ask questions, and if you have questions, feel free to post them, and I will do my best to answer those for you. And we'll see. Oh, it looks like YouTube is live, so welcome. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today, the English Fluency Guide, that's me. I'm going to help you understand more really what I've seen as the number one thing that has stopped the people I've worked with over 20 years. So helping people get fluent for 20 years. Wow, more than 20 years. That's a long time. I did not think I would be doing this many years ago, but I've enjoyed it so much. I've just continued to do it. Well, nice to see you there, George. All right, making sure we are working here. We should be all right. Okay, let me erase the board, and then we'll get started. I wanted to make this video because I had an interesting conversation with a learner. They were asking me about some vocabulary and how to improve their vocabulary, and I recommended one of my videos. And they said, oh, well, that video is, I don't know, it's like a few years old or something like that. And I said, well, like, it doesn't matter if the if the video is old or not. The point is, does the vocabulary or the lesson actually help you improve? And so often, like, I will get comments like that. Maybe not so often. A lot of people, I think they understand this. You might have an old book, for example, that's still a great story, but maybe it was just made many years ago. And the interesting thing is that this learner who was talking with me, their use of the language they were using, so like they were not using it correctly. So when people say to me like, oh, I don't want to learn that thing because it's older, it's like, well, you're not communicating correctly. So why not? Like, what is your goal here? Do you want to become a confident, correct speaker, or do you care? I mean, does it matter? And so again, I thought that was just an interesting thing because really what I found is the number one thing that stops people from getting fluent is the review. So even if people get what I would call bad lessons, like the lessons just aren't very good. And what I mean by that is, well, here, let me draw this very quickly. I talked about the fluency triangle in the last video, but I think it's important just to mention it here since we always have new people joining us. But you can look at individual lessons and actually judge whether the lessons are helpful or not at getting you more fluent based on what the lessons are doing. So I'll just put here FT for fluency triangle. And the basic idea of the fluency triangle is there are three things you need to become a fluent speaker. The first one is you need to have real English. So you actually need to learn the real vocabulary natives are using, or you won't understand people or communicate confidently. I think that's pretty obvious for most people. But the second thing, and this is a little bit trickier, this is that you need to learn that as a first language. So you need to not learn it through your native language, through translations or getting definitions. You actually have to understand the language like a native. And I'll give you some examples of that later in this video. And then the third thing is the review part, which we'll be talking about specifically in this video, which is what I call naturally varied review. And so naturally varied review is a way of reviewing the content and actually developing fluency, because even if you learn some real English and you learn it the same way a native does, you might forget that information pretty quickly, or you might not be prepared if people say something different or pronounce things differently, or maybe they don't pronounce things very clearly. So there are lots of good reasons to review, and the important thing is to review things in different ways, all right? And so I contrast the fluency triangle with basically what you could call the test prep triangle. So the test prep triangle, instead of learning real vocabulary, you will learn some of that, but a lot of it is just formal English used for writing. And this is why often people will say, oh, I understand what the teacher tells me, but I don't understand what people in real life or movies or whatever are saying. So it's actually a different English. Now, just to make it very clear, if we've got real English over here and formal English over here, obviously there is some overlap between those two. So native speakers are using some textbook English or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But the problem is it's not just the vocabulary. It's also the way people speak. It's usually less clear, or natives are blending their sounds together, or they're speaking with a more difficult accent than like how I'm speaking now, which is a very clear, easy to understand English. Okay, so I'm giving you more of this, but you still need to get this if you want to understand natives. Okay, so they're also getting things, they're learning English as a second language. Usually they're learning through their native language. They're just getting textbook definitions of things or translations. They're trying to study rules, and they probably understand a lot of rules. Maybe they could take a test and pass that. So really that's the point of the test prep triangle here. And then the review over here is really trying to get lots of speaking, and you really try to just repeat things to yourself. If you don't have people to practice with, maybe you use flashcards or you talk to yourself, but that's basically the repetition right there for review. So see how these things are, they're related, but they're actually quite different. And so natives are learning the language this way, and non-natives are typically learning the language this way. And this is really what I've found is like the biggest problem for people. Because let's say you could go right here on YouTube and actually find lots of vocabulary videos that are actually teaching you the way people really speak. You'll find lots of those here. But the much more difficult thing to find on YouTube is actually getting naturally varied review, because you need to actually use different videos in order to do that. It's pretty rare to find a video that would give you enough naturally varied review within that video. So you need to get lots of different native speakers, and you need to hear them at different speeds, and you need to hear things in different tenses. There's lots of different variety that you need to prepare for, and the whole point of this fluency triangle here is to prepare you for real communication, because you don't know what people are going to say. So in a test, you usually know what the teacher is going to say. The teacher says this, and then I have to respond with this thing over here. So it's a very specific thing. There's usually one answer, like a correct answer for a test, but there are many answers that could be correct in real communication, okay? So obviously these things are related, and there will be some overlap between these two. So some of the test kind of things that you will learn in class and the real things that natives will learn in the same way, but there will be some overlap there. But this point here, again, even if you get bad lessons, so even if you learn lots of like formal English or textbook English, you probably aren't learning it like a native does. You don't really understand it like a native does. You probably have a good sense for some basic things, but natives really know how to use the language very well. But this part over here, the two main reasons that people don't get enough review are, number one, because it's boring. So I'll just put this up here. For the people who know a lot of English but still have trouble speaking, it's really because they're not getting enough review. And the review they need to be getting is actually naturally varied review, not just more repetition, because if you don't know something fluently already, then knowing it again by repeating it more is probably not going to help you. All right, so we need to have more examples, but again, the reasons people don't get this, number one, is it's boring. This is why people are always interested in new information. So English learners are always looking for new information, and it's even if they know, I don't know, they've seen something and they haven't really learned it well enough, they're still looking for more new information anyway. All right, and then the second reason over here, this is a trickier one, but this is because they think they know that vocabulary already. All right, so some people, they're even happy to review, but they think, oh, like I know that word, I know what that means, so I'm not going to review that word more. All right, and so like maybe I'll think of a better way to express this. Like they think so they think they know the vocabulary. All right. Now, for me, learning Japanese, this happens to me all the time when I will know a word and then I will be surprised when I hear it used in some new way. And I think, oh, wow, isn't that interesting that I thought I knew that word, but really I'm still learning it. I'm still getting more fluent. And as I get more examples and more varied examples, that's what's going to get me fluent in using that word. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions about this, but I wanted to review this for people just very quickly. Again, the reason native speakers become native speakers, they're not born native, but they become native, is because they're learning this way. So they are learning the real language, and they are understanding it like actually just directly in the language without needing translations or explanations about grammar rules, that kind of thing. And they're getting lots of varied review. So their parents will tell them something and their friends will tell them something like that. So it's very simple, but you need all three of these things if you want to get fluent. And often what happens is people do maybe like a mix of both of these. So some people who are learning, like watching videos here on YouTube, they will get some real English, but then they will learn it like a non-native speaker. And this basically means they're usually getting a translation, like it's a video about here are some interesting phrases, but a Spanish speaker is teaching that through Spanish. And so they're giving a Spanish explanation or Portuguese or Chinese or whatever. And so this is the way most people learn. So even if you get that real vocabulary, if you don't understand it like a native and you don't review it like a native, then you're not going to speak like a native, all right? But it's important to remember, natives are not born, they are made, okay? So anybody could become a native if you just switch from really learning this way to learning that way, all right? Now, before I give a bunch of examples of this, let me go check comments, see if anybody has any questions. I think this should be a pretty easy thing to understand, but let me know. I want to make sure this is clear. But you have to be very careful about this as a learner. Even myself, I have to remind myself, like, if I know, so humans in general are bored by things if we see the same thing over and over again because we just don't really care about it. We already know about that thing. I want to know what's new. That's why we ask people what's new when we see them. Hey, how's it going? What's new? We're asking people, has anything changed in your life? What's new? So that's a good greeting as well. What's new? So when we meet people, we don't say what's old. We say what's new. So we want to know what's a new thing happening in your life, or the news. So what is some new information that we can get? Because we don't care about old information. We already know old information, or we think we know. Okay, so if we know things are going to be boring for us, then that means we have to vary the review. Okay, so we have to trick our mind into reviewing things by giving a variation of that thing to make it new for our mind. Okay, that's why we have naturally varied review, and that's why people naturally get fluent that way when they get lots of examples from different people. All right, so even if they think they know that, they usually don't. And so we have to be very careful about that as learners. So whatever language you're learning, you have to remember that maybe I don't know this as well as I think I do. I should be open to reviewing things and learning things in a new way, or hearing different people say those things, or hearing it at a different speed, or something like that. So if you can overcome these two challenges, you will easily become fluent. And you actually have a good chance, even if you learn the traditional way. So even if you learn textbook English and you're still learning it through your native language, if you get lots of naturally varied review, that's really going to help you a lot more. So even if you're trying to learn through translations, which I don't recommend, it just makes it more difficult for you. But if you had to have one of these pieces, the naturally varied review is the thing that's going to help you the most. Because a lot of people, they learn their kind of textbook English, but they still don't review it very much. And that's because either it's boring to review it, they don't want to repeat that again and again, or they think they know it, but they really don't. So I started this video talking about a learner who was asking me about something, and I said, oh, you should watch this video. And he said, oh, I don't want to watch that video because it's older. And I said, well, but you're like the language you're using is incorrect. That means that even this vocabulary here that's old vocabulary for you, you don't know it. So why are you trying to learn new vocabulary before you understand the other vocabulary? Now, most of the vocabulary I'm using right now, I learned this, I don't know, 30 years ago. This is not like lots of new vocabulary I'm using. A lot of it is basic and helping people understand the language. You can see I'm communicating even if I don't use a lot of difficult vocabulary. But it's because I know how to use the vocabulary. I knew how to kind of fight this, to fight the boredom, and making sure I know things by getting lots of naturally varied review. So that's how I got fluent in English. So I wasn't born a native speaker. I became a native speaker because I learned this way. And that means you can do the same thing. All right. Now, before I give a bunch of examples, let me go back, look at chat. If you have any questions about this or anything else, but I'm going to give you some examples of naturally varied review. All right. Lewis, nice to see you there, George, again. And I can't read the Arabic, unfortunately, but it looks like a sad face. This is sometimes my feeling, your theme of your class. Sometimes I feel confident. Sometimes I feel bad. Yes, and so like this will happen as you learn. When you're trying to learn a new language, because it does take some time, like you're going to feel like this. Like hopefully over time it's trending up. A lot of people, it's kind of trending like this, where it's just they're not actually improving, even though they're learning more. But yeah, there will be some days, for me, I feel like, wow, my Japanese was really good today, and other days I'm just like, I don't know, I forgot some simple word. Yesterday, actually, I forgot some English word. I knew the Japanese, but I had forgotten the English. I still don't remember the English. So my daughter went to the dentist, and she had some teeth pulled. And this means like she had like some just, I don't know, crowding or something like that, but she had 2 teeth pulled, and then she got some, like in Japanese we say masui, and this is like now I can't remember the English, but it's what numbs your gums or your mouth or whatever. So you could call it Novocaine, but I think that's a brand name and not like a kind of thing. But anyway, there will be some times where you feel good and sometimes where you not or you don't feel so good, and that's okay. But if you're learning the right way, if you trust the plan, you trust the system, you should be tending up over time. Amnesia is when you forget things. That's close though. Amnesia. Yeah, amnesia is like you wake up like, oh no, I forget who I am. That's amnesia. You're thinking of like, now I forget. What's somebody look that up for me. Yeah, anesthesia. That's right. Yes, like anesthesia and amnesia is similar, but yes, it sounds similar, but it's a different word. Anyway, Lewis, do not feel bad about that. Hopefully, over time, you should be feeling better. If you focus on this, you will absolutely improve, guaranteed, because it's really what other people are doing to you that gets you fluent. Now, you'll notice from this example, I haven't talked about this in a while, but I think maybe it's good to review it. Anyway, getting fluent in a language is actually quite different than exercising in a gym. So if I am a gym trainer, I will go to the gym with someone and I can tell them what to do. I say, okay, take this weight and move it like this or like that or whatever. But then you have to lift the weight. All right, you actually have to do the work, and it's going to the gym can be quite boring, and good because you have that repetition. You're just moving some weight again and again. So you can see why a lot of people do not like going to the gym. But with getting fluent, it's actually something that other people do to you, especially other people teaching young children. So young children are not talking to themselves in the mirror. They're not studying flashcards. They're not reading grammar books. They're just getting all of these examples from other people that make the language understandable. And so that's why I spend a lot of time giving these kinds of lessons and reminding you that it's not like something you have to do by yourself to try to understand the language. You only have to do that if you're learning by yourself. But if you have someone to help you, then all of this stuff is really doing the hard work for you to get you fluent. All right, so I'll give you an example of this in just a moment. Olympia, nice to see you there, dear teacher. And Diana says hello. Emma says, teacher, I pretty understand American English. You would say you could say maybe I pretty much understand the American accent, but I don't understand anything when I hear British accent. Sounds like another language to me. Yes, so if you have more experience listening to British English, then you will understand it better. And even in America, there are various accents, so you just need to get more experience with that accent if you want to understand it. And even, within Britain, you will have a variety of accents as well. Nawfal says, hello from Morocco. ICR says, hello from Saudi Arabia. Hello, my uncle. That's my nephew, maybe, or more my niece. I can't tell. Let's see. Joseph says, what can I do if I have ADHD? I can't stay focused. I guess it depends, if you have like a specific issue. I mean, I probably have ADHD. I'm always looking at new things and trying to figure things out. But I would look for a particular thing that you are interested in. So I know, like recently, maybe the past 20 years or something, more of ADHD or whatever kind of diseases or some mental problem where they can't focus in school. I don't know if that's true or if that's really happening or not. It's not really the point. But typically, even if you have a child who maybe has ADHD or has some kind of issue, there is something that they can focus on. And if you look at what they are enjoying, like they can sit and, paint or something for a long time. So my older daughter, Aria, is a good example of this. Like you could look at her, she loves to run around and jump and play, and she'll jump in the house. And you could think, wow, this little girl has a lot of energy, but maybe she has ADHD or something. But if you sit her down and say, oh, would you like to draw something? She can draw for an hour. So the issue is not like, does a child have a problem, or, even, you with whatever that is. I would look for a particular thing in your life that you are able to focus on. So if you're not able to focus on anything at all, like you can't even watch a TV show for a little bit, or you can't read a book, or you can't, whatever your interest is, then you might have an actual problem, and I'm not the best advice for that. But if you do have something that you're interested in, I would start there. This actually reminds me of a comic. It was just a comedian I was listening to, and he was talking with his little nephew. And this little kid was holding some Pokemon cards, and he started showing his uncle all these Pokemon cards. And he said, oh, look, this Pokemon does this, and it has all these cool little, things or these powers or something, and this Pokemon does this. And his uncle was just like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And after the child had explained all of that, the uncle took the child into the bathroom and he said, this is my shampoo. This shampoo does this. It has all this cool stuff. And after I use the shampoo, then I use this conditioner, and this conditioner does this stuff. And then I have a special soap, and this does this. And obviously the child looked very bored. So the child didn't care about that, but it's exactly the same thing. So if we look at a child and say, well, that child is, they have ADHD, or, they don't care about whatever, the particular subject is, there probably is something they can focus on. So I would focus on that. Think about something that you do like or enjoy or are able to focus on, and then use that and connect that with the English. So if you like learning about whatever, do that thing in English. That's how I would do it. Teacher, what should I do to be a good interpreter? It's hard for me to hear and translate at the same time. That's a tricky one. I would really get very good if you can at learning English as a first language, and so that's the kind of thing that I teach here. So if you learn things. And I don't do professional interpreting, and I'm not like a whispering interpreter, which I think is really cool. But I do some translating or whatever. Like my mother will be in town this coming week, and I will probably do a lot of interpreting, being able to speak Japanese and English with her and other people. But the tricky thing often for people who are trying to translate is if you're learning. So like this is your native language, and then you're learning another language over here, and then you have a third language that you're trying to learn. If you learn the languages through each other like that, so this is like the first one you learn and the second one you learn, it's much more difficult, and you will be much slower. You will think more slowly and be able to express yourself more slowly if you learn this way. But if instead you're able to learn both languages as a first language, then you should be able to communicate and respond much faster. So I would focus on that. Anytime you're trying to learn things, you really want to understand it the same way a native does. And then all you're really doing, because it's all a native language to you at that point. So if you're learning, like if I'm learning Japanese, even if my native language is English, if I'm learning Japanese like a native speaker, then it becomes a native language for me also. So I have a native Japanese and native English. But if I try to learn a different language through a translation, then it will be more difficult for me. All right. So what I'm going to show you in this video is actually an example of this, but it's all in English. And that will be some naturally varied review, but it's taking one situation and giving you lots of different ways to say that. And so what we're doing when we interpret something, we're not really trying to like translate one thing to another. It's more like, here's what I want to say, and here's how I might say that in one language and how I might say that in another language, just like how I might, say one thing in many different ways in English. So I'll give you an example of that in just a moment, but that's how I would do it. So I'm not trying to really like learn these things through each other. I'm just understanding all of them directly so I can make that connection very quickly. And it doesn't really seem like translating, even though that's basically what you would be doing. All right, so it seems like it's translating, but it's not, because you're going directly from your just natural understanding of the language. So Pedro says, I can understand almost everything you say as long as I speak fluently. Hail to Brazil. So Olympia says, thank you, George. Oh, you got that answer already. Cam says, good morning, nice to see you there. Marciliana from Brazil. Thanks for the class. Not a lot of Brazilian, a lot of Brazilian flags over. Mr. Stranger says, you have been older. Yes, I get older every day. Every day. There wasn't a single day in my life where I got younger. One day. I wish it happened. That would be so cool if there were some days I woke up and I was younger. That would be awesome. But no, it happens this way. Johan says, Johan. You were really helpful to me when I was still learning English and improved my listening. I used to watch your videos always. Thank you so much. You're great. Glad to hear it. If you do like the videos, click the like button and share the videos with other people. And good evening. Teacher says, estudos de concurso, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let's see. And Don says, that keeps happening to me every time I understand a new word and then looking for its meaning in Arabic and can't remember it. Doc, I think I'm losing my own mother tongue and I'm getting weaker in both. Yes, sometimes it happens like that. Like I was explaining, I forgot anesthesia. But I've never used the word anesthesia. I haven't said anesthesia in so long. But, I mean, now that I hear it, okay, it's back again. I remember it. It's like riding a bike. Even if you don't ride a bike for a while, you get back on and it comes back to you. So you remember how to do something, it comes back to you. So yes, there will be some days where maybe you're not feeling so confident or you forget some words or something like that. But in general, if you're learning the right way, you should be feeling more fluent over time. Let's see. But yes, I would remember if you don't understand something in English, try to get a different example of that thing. All right. Don't just quickly go back to your native language. The whole point is to understand something. And so that's what I try to do. I try to help people understand things. Rose says, I need people to practice. As I tell people often, no, you don't. You actually don't need, if you're practicing with me right now, it's really me helping you understand the language better. So you don't need me physically there, and you don't need to say anything. You're the one getting fluent because of the way I teach. All right. So if I can teach you real English and help you understand it like a native and give you lots of naturally varied review, then you will feel much more confident and then you will start speaking. Okay. So the speaking is the result of learning with the fluency triangle. And over here, it's really more of frustration and maybe you're prepared for some specific answers for tests, but you will be finding it more difficult in regular communication if you learn that way. All right. Let's see. Oh no, I'm going to try to read all this katakana here. Let's see. What is that? What is that? Is that? I'm so bad with reading katakana because I don't know what it's supposed to what it's supposed to say. Even like a simple word like keiki. I'm like, what is that? And it's like, oh, cake. That's what they mean. Cake. Okay. Do I live in the United States? No, I am from Chicago, but I am in Nagasaki, Japan right now. Rachel says, hi, teacher. How have you been doing? I've been doing well. Ahmed says, I understand you very well, and my English language is almost good. I am listening too much. When I am alone, my pronunciation, it's like American, but in public, totally different. And this is always an interesting thing. I get variations on this kind of comment where people are able to speak by themselves, but when they're speaking with other people, then their language changes. And I found this, for me, it's an interesting thing. Maybe I should make a video talking about this idea, but I've noticed my Japanese is better when I'm speaking with people who don't know anything about me. And if I have known them for a long time and they knew me when I could not speak Japanese, then my Japanese is not as good. And I think it's because I feel like I'm being judged by the person Even if they're not like actually judging me, I'm just feeling like, well, they knew me when I was not a good speaker, and now like if I am a good speaker, I worry about making more mistakes because I want to show them that I can speak well now. But for people who don't know me, if I just see someone at a hotel or on the street or in a store or restaurant, I just start speaking and my Japanese is much better. So there's an interesting psychology part about like how we learn and how we communicate, and part of that is what we think about other people. So I actually made a video talking about that. Just search my lives and you will see let's see, what was it called? It was like if you're able to speak alone but you can't speak with other people, or something like that. I forget the exact title, but I talk more about that specific issue, and often part of that is that reason where we're feeling like we're being judged by other people, but often we're also not able to judge our own speaking very well. So a native can listen to our speech and tell us, oh, like here are the things that maybe sound incorrect or could be better or something like that. So there are some interesting reasons why that happens. Let's see. Lewis says, actually, every single second we stay older. That's true. Yes. You know, it's like time doesn't actually move, but we kind of feel older. It's interesting how that works. Mr. Stranger, shut up. He's so handsome. Well, I can be getting older, but still be handsome. You know, like we've got that overlap here. So this is me getting older, and this is me being handsome. And so we've got the overlap in the middle there. You can be both. We call this aging gracefully. Aging, to get older gracefully. All right, let's see. Lahomi from Haiti, thank you. And Nico says, how would you teach pronunciation? For me, it's difficult to find difference between the sheep and the eye of ship. If you want this, the perfect solution, the exact thing you're asking for is what we made. It's an app called Frederick. And you can click on the link in the description to get it. But the way it works is it's the first app of its kind that actually lets you spin different wheels and produce different sounds that lets you compare things like that. So I can listen to something like ship or sheep, and we're continuing to improve the app and design more things, but it will take you through all of the levels of phonics and different sounds, so all the sounds of English with over 2,000 words and sentences, and you can teach yourself the pronunciation that way. So the really two pieces you need for pronunciation are learning the different sounds of English, but then also hearing how natives really communicate in real life. But if you're specifically struggling with that issue, then Frederick is the thing that will help you with that. All right. So click on the link in the description below this video to get that. Let's see. See again. Why don't you grow your hair, Mr. Andrew? Maybe sparky style, spiky. I don't know what that means. You mean spiky? Spiky style would be awesome. Well, I keep thinking about cutting all of my hair off. I want to shave it off, but my wife won't let me. She says, "No, don't do it. Don't do it." Olympia, as the good wine. Yes, JP says, thank you. Your explanations are taking my English to the next level. Yes. And so when people say that, that's great to hear. And the reason that's happening is because you're understanding something better, more deeply, rather than just only learning new information that you forget. So why are you so beautiful? See, that's a good comment right there. That's a great question. Why are you so beautiful? I don't know, you know. I guess I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm glad you think so. There you go. I'm going to try to read that katakana again. Let's see. I'm going to read it slowly. Zaruto uskuraku desu note. Okay. Death Note. Oh, okay. I see what you're talking about now. I got you. All right. Med says, hello, my favorite teacher. This is me, Said. I'm happy to be here with you. Welcome. Pato says, Drew from Chile. I understand what you're saying about being an interpreter as a native speaker, but I believe that in the end, you are somehow translating in your mind when interpreting. Do you agree? No, I don't agree. And I'll explain like why I don't agree with that. I gave an example of that before, but I'll give you another example in a moment about that. I'm just going through these questions. Miguel says, but I can't speak in English, just understand when somebody is talking. Again, you're probably lacking review. So you don't know the information as well as you think you do, and I'll show you some more examples of how that works in this video. All right, let's see. Lewis says, how do you say galosinza in English? Could be gray fox. I don't know what galosinza means. Does that mean, is that gray fox? I don't know. Is sinza, does that mean fox? And gallo means gray? If it does, then yeah, that would be it. And Rose says, hello, if you need someone to practice, I'm here. I'm an intermediate English speaker. All right. Now, remember, you don't need to have someone to practice your English with because it's all about input. It's about getting the language and making sure it's understandable to you. And after you feel confident, then you can speak, okay? If you want to try to improve your English by speaking with other people, you can, but most likely you're just going to use information at your level that you already feel comfortable with. So you're probably not going to improve very much. In order to improve, you need to stretch yourself. And that means you need to get literally to a higher level of understanding. And you don't do that by speaking. You do that by getting more information, by understanding the language better. All right. Alexi says, hi, dear Drew. Let me express my gratitude to you. You really helped me to find the way to get fluency. You helped me to break a language barrier. Alexi FL, originally from Lipetsk, USSR. Welcome. Well, that's great. Again, if you have found these videos helpful, do click the like button and let other people know. Say, hey, come watch this guy. All right. Now, it's interesting that we're getting this question about translating or being able to interpret things. But let me remind you, in English and probably in your language as well, you might have a situation like something you want to express, and you will have many different ways of saying this. Okay? So I could say, for example, really big wave. So the situation, this is a nice visual thing, pretty easy to understand. Let's say I'm standing on the beach, if you can see that. So here I am. It's me. I got my swim trunks on, kinda. Okay. Ooh, that's kind of a that's a little dangerous right there. Let me draw this more cleanly. There we go. All right, so that's me in my swim trunks on the beach, and I see, wow, look at that, a giant wave. Now, there are different ways I could express that. I could say, wow, really big wave. I could say giant wave, or I could say tsunami. All right? So, wow, look at that. Like, or the news is talking about that. They say there's a really big wave coming this way. Be careful. There is a giant wave coming this way. Oh, there is a tsunami coming this way. All right. Now, most adult English speakers would know all of these things. They would understand that, and they all mean the same thing. What I'm doing right now is interpreting. I have one thing I want to express. It's this situation right here, this wave. But there are different ways I could say that. Okay. And notice one of these things is a Japanese word. Isn't that interesting? But a native speaker doesn't realize that's a Japanese word unless they know, like they've heard that or they understand the history of the word, then, you know, something like that. But hopefully you guys get the idea here that to a native speaker, the word tsunami is a native English word. It becomes an English word, like it's now an English word in English. Like it's not, people aren't thinking it's a Japanese word. They're not translating in their head. They're just thinking, oh, look at that, a tsunami. All right? Now, they might not even pronounce it like that. They might say like tsunami, a tsunami. But again, this is the Japanese word. They don't realize it's a Japanese word because they learned it as a native speaker. All right. Now, if I take you to a Japanese class and I say, okay, here's a really big wave and we're going to go from big wave. And now how do you say that in Japanese? You say the word tsunami. Okay. So here, this is an example of going from a situation to the native English to some Japanese word instead. But we don't learn that way. Instead, we go from the situation to the Japanese word and the English word, but we don't think about it as a Japanese word. It's just a different word in English. So I can switch from any of these things, and I'm not really translating here. I'm just selecting a different thing that I understand natively. So all of these things, really big wave, giant wave, tsunami, it's just different examples of ways I could express this same situation. Okay, so it's the exact same thing as here's something I want to say, here's how I might say it in Italian, here's how I might say it in Spanish, here's how I might say it in whatever. And so young kids, when they're learning languages this way, they will hear a word like tsunami and they will not think like, oh, wait a minute, isn't that a Japanese word? They don't know. They don't know what word came from French or German or whatever. Okay? So when you're trying to think about interpreting, you can see how it's much easier to interpret this way. I can go from the situation to like how do we say this in French, or how do we say this in Italian, or whatever. All right. So they're like songs for little kids that just teach them like, what are different words for friend? And they say like, oh, amigo, or ami, or whatever, like different, like mon ami, like from French or Spanish or Italian or whatever. And so kids don't realize like, oh, that word came from French. They're just hearing it's just another word for friend, but in a different language that they don't know. All right. But it becomes like a native language to them. All right. So we put these categories like, well, this is an English thing and this is a what thing. But what is this? What is tsunami? Is it English or Japanese or both or what? Okay. So the point is, if you're learning the things directly, it becomes much easier to use them automatically when you speak, and it doesn't matter what level, what level or what language it is you're using. All right. Let's see. So gray fox would be a middle-aged man with a good fit, like a gallo cinza or gray fox. Okay. Yeah, okay. Then there you go. Oh, is that you're saying I'm that? A galocinza. Yeah, I need to get like the pronunciation down for that. What does that kind of guy do? I need like what it was the Spanish equivalent. I don't know, like like some sunglasses or something like that. I can put some sunglasses on. I don't know what people do for that, but Paris says, hi everyone. C says his pants are bigger than his entire body. Yes. Well, that's it's just a funny picture. You understand what it means. I'm exaggerating the short my swimsuit over here, my swim trunks. Tell us a short way to improve our language efficiency or efficiency without more time and cost. Just watch more videos about the things you're interested in here on YouTube in English. That's it. So if you don't want to spend any money, you just like if money is more important to you than time, then you should just watch more YouTube videos in English, but you have to be smart about how you do it. Don't watch random YouTube videos about like language lessons. You should get maybe one language lesson and then look for those examples in other videos, or watch different topics and focus on a few different videos about that topic. Okay? So we don't want to just watch a bunch of random stuff that's only English teachers, and especially like teaching you through your native language. So if you don't want to spend any money and your time is maybe your money is more important than your time for those people, then do that. Just watch videos on YouTube about specific topics. You could get fluent that way. It's just more difficult to find things and then try to understand everything. Again, you're really choosing between money and time, which is more important to you. So for me, like I always choose time because I can get more money. I'll figure out some way to get more money, but like I'm not going to get more time. So I want to be trying to get fluent if efficiency is really the most important thing, but you can't really have both. You can't have like the most efficient thing and the cheapest thing at the same time, because usually you're able to save time by using money. Okay, so just pick which one you want to do. So if you want to get fluent and you don't mind spending a lot of time doing it, then do that. All right, so look for videos on YouTube about things you're interested in and watch a lot of those in English. All right, so whatever the topic is, watch 10 videos about that thing from different people. And you will learn more and you will feel more confident, and then you will start being able to speak because the fluency happens as you understand the language better. All right, but just pick which one you'd like to do. Let's see. And Miguel says, teacher, when are you coming to Mexico? I was in Mexico. When was I in Mexico? I've been to Mexico a few times, actually. I don't know. When are you paying for my trip? But then I'll think about coming to Mexico. Someone can organize a trip for me and I'll come. Rose says, okay, Paris, what is your speaking level? Oh, okay, you guys are speaking with each other. Shang Wei Su says, good morning, Drew. Like you, I tend to figure out new things. There you go. And Jeremy says, hi, teacher. And Shang again, as I keep watching your live session, some thoughts pop in my mind. How can I break a situation into pieces? Let's say I am facing a new situation. What do I normally need to look for first? When you say break a situation into pieces, what do you mean by that? When I give these examples, what I'm talking about is there is something you want to say, but there are usually many ways to express that thing. So a greeting, if I meet you for the first time, or if I see you after a long time, I could just say, oh, hey, or hi, how are you? How have you been? How is your family? What's up? How are things going? So these are the different ways we might express the same situation. Just like here, we have this big wave in the water, and I could say, oh, really big wave, giant wave, tsunami, and there are, maybe some different ways of expressing that. Okay, so if you have more, give me some more information if I'm not answering your question, but let me know if that makes sense. But the basic idea for this is that we do have different ways of expressing things, and I'll give you an example of that now. Zach Keen says, hi, Drew, I just want to know your draft. You mean daughter? Do you mean daughter speaks English like a native English speaker, or she has some accent? My daughters, if you're talking about them, when they're speaking English, they sound like native English speakers. Their English level is not as good as their Japanese, but their pronunciation is perfect, and that's because they get lots of examples from me, but also from television or radio or other native speakers, that kind of thing. So I make sure they get lots of naturally varied review. So my daughters are living in Japan, and they spend actually more time, really most of their day, in a Japanese environment. So speaking with other people in Japanese. So I have to be smarter. I have to be very efficient with my time about how I teach them. So I need to make sure they're getting lots of naturally varied review, learning things that natives actually say, and making sure they understand it like a native. I don't use Japanese to teach them English. All right, let's see. And are you coming? I don't know what that is, are versus do. You mean like, well, if you're saying like, are you coming? Like, it depends on the situation. Like, are you, like, I'm calling my friend and he should be like arriving at my house. Is it, hey, are you coming? Are you coming over? That's how you would say that. Hi, I love your videos from Colombia, says Paul. Glad to hear it. Click the like button. Nico says, so according to your beliefs, you would say beliefs here, your beliefs, you agree with Stephen Krashen's theory that we could reach the fluency consuming comprehensible input, whether it's from your courses or the internet. So yes, Krashen, the basic idea about Krashen is comprehensible input. And I'm a big fan of Krashen. He discovered the same thing I did, but the thing I kind of extended Krashen with was this. So again, this idea, I just call it understandable messages because that sounds a little bit easier to understand. So comprehensible input. So comprehensible input just means information that you understand all in the language you're learning. So you shouldn't be needing translations if you can understand things directly in the language. All right, so that's what comprehensible input means. But when I was learning about Krashen, so after basically I discovered the same thing independently. I just call it like these ideas here about learning English like a native, or learning English as a first language rather than learning it as a second language. And so that's what, like, this part here is the comprehensible input part. And the thing that like I didn't get from Krashen and from like other teachers who were trying to explain that to me and they didn't seem to understand it either was like how exactly it works. And the thing I discovered is that like the idea of comprehensible input is doubt destruction. Or you can call it doubt erasure or whatever. But the important thing here is to destroy to destroy doubt. So the point is not just to get lots of input and random input about stuff. The point is to use information. It's kind of like solving a puzzle, like where you're getting clues to solve a mystery in a TV crime drama, something like that. So the point is not to just get lots of random information, but to destroy doubt. So that's how you can get fluent as efficiently as possible by getting those doubts removed. So yes, it is possible to get fluent by yourself, and that's how I got fluent in Japanese. So there is no course, or a course I'm aware of, that does all of this. And in Japanese, and maybe there is, but I've not heard of it. I've not found a course like that. So I had to create my own program for learning Japanese in that way, just by getting because I understand how to learn. That's how I got fluent in Japanese. So you don't have to pay to do it. Like I mentioned before, I've spent a lot of time, I've wasted a lot of time, and I'd rather spend my money to get fluent in Japanese if this was offered as like the same thing that I created for learning English. All right, so it is possible. You could get fluent by yourself, just like I'm getting fluent in Japanese, because that's the only option I have. But I would much rather save time and spend money to do that. So if I had somebody organizing all of the information for me, like the organizing of stuff and making sure I understand it well, that's really hard to do. And it's especially hard to do by yourself, but it's possible. So there is lots of content available. You can find lots of random videos, but trying to find like the specific things you need, making sure you understand the content, making sure you understand the content like a native, it's much more difficult to do. So it's possible, but yes, like if you're asking about learning with me, like you don't have to. You can continue to use just lots of free content, but again, you're either spending time or you're spending money. And you just have to think which is more important to you. So for me, like learning Japanese, like would I spend, I don't know, like a couple $100 to learn Japanese and get fluent if it was guaranteed? Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't I do that? Because if I can become fluent in Japanese, well, I'm already fluent, but again, like for learning new things, the value of Japanese fluency to me is like the whole rest of my life. I would be able to speak even better and have more opportunities, and all of that is worth way more than spending some money on a course. So usually the people who join my program are people like we got like executives or people in government or other people who have companies or something like that. Like they'd much rather just get fluent faster and have me do it for them. So that's what you're paying for. Anyway, yes, it's certainly possible to do. There's lots of information, but it just becomes more difficult as people are like, it's harder to find really good content and then making sure you understand it well. Let's see. And then, and we got Akira Jin says, I bought your course. Thank you. Stop using katakana. See, I can't. If it's just like one long string of katakana like that, it's really difficult for me to read because I'm trying to understand. I bought your course. I bought your course. Thank you, tomato. Yeah. I get. Does that say I bought your course? Is that what you're trying to say? Let me know that. Let's see. Pato says, I'm fluent in many situations or topics in English, but there is always a point when teaching to my kids where I feel stuck in some specific word or situation that inevitable I need to translate. Yeah, and so in like there is always going to be something like that, and often translating is just faster. But if the purpose is to teach someone else and to get them fluent, and usually that's what parents are trying to do, we want to make it easy for our kids to communicate with us. And so that's why this is the fastest way to teach them. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And when you're learning this way, especially if you're trying to help your kids learn, then focus on that. And if there's some things like you don't know how to express it well, just get more examples of it in English or see how other people might be doing that. First time from Korea. Nice to see you there. I can't read the Hangul, but if you'd like me to know your name, you can put that up there. Atmosphere in the classroom. And the Akira Jin says, thank you, Drew. Your courses are helping me a lot. I bought 2 already. Awesome. Welcome to the programs. If you do have questions, let us know. And you should tell other people, say, hey, join the programs. It's helpful. C says, can you teach a few methods to riz girls fluently? To riz girls. Do you mean like when you're trying to chat girls up or something? Is that what you're talking about? Like how to ask girls out on a date or something? There's already lots of content about that available. Just look for like PUA, I guess, if we're talking about the same thing, PUA, like pickup artist, you know, or how to date or whatever. And this is just English speakers making content for other English speakers. So it's not about like needing a specific language class for that. My question, was it correct or to say, do you coming or are you coming? I confused. Yeah, you would say, are you coming right now? I wrote that wrongly. You wrote that incorrectly. Yes, it's okay. Yes, whenever I see a long string of katakana, it's still, even after many years, it takes me a long time because my brain is trying to process what is like the unit of information there. So it's just like looking at a bunch of stuff and I can't figure out what is a word. Okay, thanks, teacher, for your answer. My last doubt is the native fluency blueprint made to reach that fluency, or what is that about? Thanks for the good vibes. Nico, watch the previous video. So what was that, Monday's video? I talk about that, like somebody asked me about the courses. The basic idea is the native fluency blueprint is for people that are more learning independently and they want to know how to do something and understand like the kinds of things I'm explaining here. And it's about really helping people understand without needing to learn any more. So you're basically trying to get fluent or more fluent and communicate better using the vocabulary you already know. But the stuff we have in Fluent for Life, that's really all of the step-by-step training that gets you fluent, and I do the work for you. All right, so that's really the difference. Like for Native Fluency Blueprint, we really want to show people, hey, it's actually quite easy to communicate better. Here's how to improve your pronunciation. Here's how to improve this. And it's lots of little strategies that can help you improve. So we take what natives are doing, and I just share those things that natives are doing with you. All right, so if you'd like to learn some really useful tips that can help you express yourself better, that's what the Fluency Blueprint does. But if you'd like to just have me get you fluent, that's what we do in Fluent for Life. All right, let's see. And hello from Mexicali, Mexico. Shang says, ha, thanks for the reminder. There are many ways to express a situation. I guess I'm trying hard to build up a tendency towards logical orders and expressions. Well, you don't have to think about like logical orders and expressions. It's just more recognizing different ways of saying something, because that's what fluency means. Fluency means I want to express something, but if I maybe can think of a better way, or maybe I forget one way, I can express something differently. So I don't need to express something all in one particular way. Like there are different ways I can do that. And even if you only pick one of those things, then you'll still be prepared for what other people are saying. All right. Let's see, just delete the chat so I won't disturb the teacher. Well, I guess you guys are traveling to each other. Mohan says, what is this ASAP? It says, or it just means as soon as possible. So if I need someone to do something very quickly, I can say, I need that ASAP, as soon as possible. C says, I am able to speak Japanese fluently and still, so I'm able to speak Japanese and still can't read. Yeah, so you can have, like, that's often my problem. So my spoken Japanese is way better than my reading. I'm like a child that way. So I know a lot of characters. I know about half of the kanji, so the written characters needed for everyday ability to read. But katakana specifically, like trying to read words like that, is really difficult, because I'm like, I can read the characters, but trying to understand what it's saying to me. So if I have a word like I remember, like I was at a Starbucks yesterday, and I said to a woman, I was like, what did I say? Chocolate cake. And she said, oh, strawberry cake. And I said, no, chocolate cake. And when you look at like seeing the word written out in katakana, it's like chocolate, and then you're like, okay, they mean chocolate. All right. So often the pronunciation is different, and like dinosaur names is another thing about that. They're like, so in English, I'm not going to write the whole thing, but we have often this combination of P and T. It's a silent P, like pteranodon, like the flying dinosaur. But in Japanese, because the P is on there, they put that into the katakana. So it's like they have like the sound is like pteranodon. Or something like that. But there is no P sound. So I look at that and I'm like, what are they trying to say? Because I know it's a foreign word. And then like, oh, pteranodon. And like, but there's no, we don't say the P. The P is there, but the Japanese is translated as like they put the P sound on there, even though we wouldn't say it like that. So it's just a challenging thing for me. It's much easier and faster if I have kanji and things are written out normally like they would be. But if I see a long string of katakana, it's more difficult for me. But in general, my speaking is way better. What social media do you like to use? Oh, I guess you're talking to each other. All right, Pado says, but how do we deal with the fact that even though we could already know how to say something natively in English, we just forget that word and start feeling non-fluent and feel bad? Well, I mean, in a conversation, like native speakers will have this same problem where they will maybe forget a word or they will think about maybe that's not a good way to say something, I should say something else. So in that moment, native speakers aren't feeling bad that they forgot a particular word or thought maybe there was a better way to say something. They just easily switch to something else. And so that's what I try to do with these lessons is helping you understand there are different ways to express yourself. And when you get lots of naturally varied review, you automatically learn these things. And that way, if you forget one way, you can say something else. And so the thing you should be excited about is the ability to switch. It's not like, oh, I forgot this word, so I feel bad. Just, oh, I was able to remember this other word and use that one and continue speaking. And so you could think about it like feeling bad that you forget a word, but it's like a better idea to think, oh, I actually remembered this other word here, and I was able to continue speaking. All right. So that's the way I think about it. And often native speakers, if they forget, they just, it's more like a joke or a funny situation to them. Like me, like I was talking to my wife and I said, like masa itsukatta ne, like you use some anesthetic, but I couldn't remember the name of it in English. And that was just kind of like, I just thought that was kind of silly. I couldn't remember it. But I didn't feel bad about myself for that. I just thought it was funny. All right. So don't feel bad and start getting more examples of things. And remember that native speakers have those same issues. So even if you have something you want to communicate, but you don't know exactly how to say it, just use something else. There's always different ways to express yourself. Let's see. C says, did you prepare yourself scenario before you approach a girl or going on a date? Well, I don't really prepare anything. I'm not going on any dates anyway now, but I'm always introducing myself or striking up, starting conversations with people. So I will see people and I just am naturally, I like to try to speak with people or try to make other people feel comfortable or whatever if I can. And I will just say hello or notice something. I usually just notice something about a situation. I told a story a while ago about I sat down at a coffee shop with a woman, and she was with her husband, and it was the only table that had people sitting there. So like the whole restaurant, the whole area was open, but I sat right next to them. And so it seems like it's kind of an awkward situation if I walk up and sit right next to a couple when there's lots of other seats available, but I just wanted to sit in my seat. And so that was like my usual chair. I like it where it is. I have my special spot. And so when I went in there, I said, oh, they're making us sit together. Like they're making all of us foreigners sit together. And the lady said, oh, really? And I said, no, I'm just kidding, but so we had a nice conversation, but I didn't plan anything before that. I just thought like, oh, that would be kind of a funny thing to say because the situation is I have to kind of say something to make it not seem weird that I'm sitting next to them when there's a whole restaurant full of tables available. All right. So maybe I don't need to say anything at all, but it sounds kind of weird, or it feels weird if you go into somebody's space and you don't say anything about that. So especially like foreigners, like foreigners usually have a wider area of space where they feel comfortable. So especially Americans, Japanese have a smaller range of space. So Japanese people could stand closer together and not feel uncomfortable about that. But usually native people from America are standing a little bit further apart. We just have a natural, there's like a border there, So anyway, I felt that, and I didn't think of like a pickup line or anything. I didn't plan anything. But when I got there, I just said, oh, they're making us sit together, because then I'm kind of messing with their brains a little bit, because they don't know that. They think they don't know if I'm being serious or not. But then I just say, no, it's we're I'm just messing around with you. So the point about fluency is it's the same way with meeting women or talking to people at a random coffee shop or something like that. The point is more to read the situation and then to have a good way of expressing something for that situation. So if I'm trying to meet a woman or just talk with her, I would just say, oh, we happen to be at the same thing, or I notice something interesting about her that maybe other people would not notice, or whatever. And so that's like how you begin or open the conversation. But I'm not trying to plan anything like a good pickup line, because the pickup line is really it's appropriate for a particular situation. All right. And Ali says, what is the best way to practice English? So I'm going to show you that now. Mohan says, I can speak English easily, but I want to enhance my level, so reading is a better way to improve. The point isn't just reading or listening or watching or whatever. It's just, how do I understand the language better? Okay? And so you need all three of these things. You need to learn the real language natives use, or you won't understand natives or speak fluently, or you also need to understand that like a native. So that just means you're learning English as a first language. You're able to understand it with what people call comprehensible input. And then you need naturally varied review, because if you just get some examples of something that make it understandable from a teacher, you're still probably going to have errors or problems with native speakers in a real communication setting. So in a real conversation, people don't speak clearly, or they have an accent, or they're going to say something you weren't prepared for. So that's why the more preparation you can get, the more examples of things, the more confident you will feel. But you don't need to do that with other people. So that's a really nice thing about discovering this way of learning. It's really what other people do to you. Now, if you're trying to get fluent by yourself, then you need to be your own teacher, which is actually quite difficult. And that's what I had to do and still do to get fluent in Japanese. All right. Bartek says, it's 3:42 a.m. Oh, my goodness, in Poland. Well, welcome. Bartek says, great explanation. Thank you. Glad to hear it. Helga says, thanks for your lessons from Russia. D&I3D, in which part of Japan do you live? I live in Nagasaki, Japan. C says, a person who unactive at speaking tends to stuck at conversations and run out of topics. Yes, but again, the point is not to learn a lot of information. It's to know that information well. And you notice, if I took all of the vocabulary I use in these live videos, it's probably not a huge number of words. I can speak for a long time and use words in different ways, but the actual vocabulary, it's not that much. All right, so let me finally get to these examples. So I wanted to talk specifically about naturally varied review. And remember, the two main reasons that people don't get enough review is, number one, it's boring, and number two, they think they know the information already. Okay, so I know that word. I don't need to review that again. Oh, that's old. I don't care about that. Then why are you not using it correctly? Why are you not communicating fluently? All right, maybe you don't know the information as well as you think you do. Maybe you don't. All right, so situation we're going to talk about. This one is losing or missing. We'll just say lose, and make sure that fits here. Opportunity. So the situation is you miss some kind of opportunity or you miss some kind of chance, and there are many ways we could express this. I can see if maybe you can think of some, but here, this is an example of naturally varied review for the situation. All right, there are different kinds of naturally varied review. One of them is hearing the same English spoken by different people or at different speeds or in different tenses. But here, we're just talking about actual different phrases that you could use for this same situation. All right, so to lose an opportunity, maybe I go somewhere like since people are talking about dating, let's say I am, there is a girl at a bar or wherever, we're at a museum or something, and she is giving me that look. Like everybody knows that look is like, like she's looking at me. I can kind of tell she's looking at me. We call this dropping the handkerchief, to drop the handkerchief. So this is it's kind of a metaphor or an idea where the woman is beginning the interaction, letting the man know, hey, it's okay for you to say something to me or look at me or something like that. So the woman is usually giving the man some kind of indication like, hey, I'm interested in you. And like we would, in many years ago, when a woman would have like a towel or a handkerchief, she would drop that on the floor and the man would walk by and pick that up, and that's how the conversation would begin. All right, so that's one way of doing it. So talking about losing an opportunity, that's one opportunity where she was looking at me. There was a clear an indicator of interest, so she was clearly interested in me in some way, and I could probably say something, but I was too scared, so I didn't do anything, and I lost the opportunity. And maybe 20 minutes later, she left, and I never saw her again. All right, so I lost the opportunity. To lose an opportunity, what are some different ways that we might say that? All right, some different ways that we might express that. And again, it's for losing really any kind of opportunity. I'm just giving a specific situation like a man missing an opportunity to speak with some woman at a bar or museum or restaurant or whatever. All right, so you have a chance to do something. What are some different ways? Can you think of different ways you might say that? How would you express that idea of missing an opportunity? All right, so one way we might say this is to miss the boat. To miss the boat. To miss the boat. Now, we think about this, you can imagine yourself, like here we are standing on the dock, and there is a boat waiting over here to take us, but oh no, we took too long, we're trying to run, but oh no, now the boat has left. The boat is gone, and now we missed the boat. So we missed the opportunity. And you will hear natives talk about trains in this way too, like to miss the boat or miss the train. So if I'm I'm there with my friend and I say, hey, you should go talk to that girl over there. Or it looks like she might leave, you might miss the boat. The train is leaving the station. Okay, you better hurry, you better go, or you will lose the opportunity. You will miss the boat. You will miss your chance, miss your opportunity. All right. Now, notice what I'm doing here. You see, we have all three of these things covered at the same time. So, teaching you real vocabulary, like miss the boat, the train is leaving the station. These are ways natives would actually express this. And then we have understanding it like a native. So I'm showing you an example. I'm not just giving you a translation of something. I'm trying to help you understand. Look, here's a dock where a boat is, and maybe if you're too late, you take too long. No, the boat is leaving and the boat left. So you missed the boat, or you missed the train, or you missed the bus. You can use all of those expressions to describe this same situation, okay? But notice we're also getting that naturally varied review, hearing more examples, hearing different ways we might say that. Now, you don't need to remember all of these things or try to use all of these things in your conversations. Maybe you just remember one. But the important thing is that you are prepared and you understand when people are talking about, I missed the boat, I missed the bus, I missed the train. Okay? So all of those things are fine. So it's like something that leaves on a schedule. You have an opportunity right now. There's a window of opportunity, a window of opportunity. And nope, the window is closed. All right? To miss the boat. Can you think of some other ways to understand or how to express this? I'll give you some more. I'm going to write a bunch of them on here. Let's see. You can just say to lose out on. It's an interesting phrasal verb way of saying this, to lose out on something, or to miss out. Miss out. Oh no, don't miss out. Don't lose out. Don't lose out. Don't lose out on an opportunity. On an opportunity. So don't miss out on an opportunity. Or like in the previous video, I talked about like letting something slip through your fingers. So let something slip through your fingers. Let something slip through your fingers. So I had a chance, an opportunity, but oh no, it slipped through my fingers. It slipped through my fingers. All right, or you could say to drop the ball. To drop the ball. This is an idea from sports. Like if someone is throwing me a football or a baseball, but oh no, I dropped it. Oh no, I missed that opportunity. So I had the chance to do something and I missed it. I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball. So all of these things are great when you lose any kind of opportunity. So I can drop the ball at work. I can drop the ball on a date by saying something stupid or missing an opportunity in some way. Or if I'm trying to get a job and I forget to wear pants to the interview. Oh no, I missed the boat on that one. I dropped the ball on that one. I made a mistake. I lost an opportunity. All right, I could go on and on. I've actually put some more examples of these into the comments, or actually, well, they will be in the comments, but they're in the description below this video. So if you want to look at some other ways that express this same thing, I don't want to cover all of them because you get the idea. All right, so you don't need to remember all of these things. The point is you should be prepared for things like that, and you become better prepared when you get naturally varied review. All right. So the typical way people would do this in a regular classroom is you might just say like to miss an opportunity or lose an opportunity, and that's fine. And then maybe you will hear this as a translation, or you get a definition of that rather than thinking about the situation and the vocabulary the way a person learning in their first language would do. And then you would probably just repeat that again and again. You would say miss an opportunity or lose an opportunity. Now, if someone else says, "Hey, I missed the boat," you would think, where is the boat? What are you talking about? And that's because you're not thinking about it like a native speaker. So a native speaker is taking another situation and saying it's like this. You're losing an opportunity. So just like missing a boat, you could be missing a chance to date or talk with some person or whatever. Okay, so this happens a lot in life. Even if we maybe we try to do something, or even if it's not our fault, sometimes we get opportunities and they pass us by. So either we snatch those opportunities or we do not. All right, I'll share one more that I just think is interesting because this is a native way of kind of playing with the language. And this is to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Now, often people will hear the opposite, which is to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. All right. Now, it's harder to understand if I just read the words out to you, but if you can think about it like some kind of animal, like there's me over here, and there's some kind of giant animal with lots of teeth. Oh no, he's going to eat me like that. So these are like the jaws of some creature that's trying to eat me. But I get away. Oh, I snatched victory. So maybe I was like reaching in here to get some, I don't know, like special prize or something like that. So I reach in and very quickly grab it. So I snatch something from the jaws. So the jaws are the mouth of that thing, like the upper jaw and the lower jaw. So to snatch something, to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. So this is an example of when maybe you were close to failing, but you won, you succeeded. Okay, so to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. So instead of losing, so you were very close to losing, but you won. So often movies are like this, like the character has to fight some kind of monster or there's a great challenge or something, and he almost loses, but he wins. So he snatches victory from the jaws of defeat. Now, natives had taken this and they write it in the opposite way, or they say it in the opposite way, which is to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And so this is the opposite thing, like you should have won that. It was very easy, but you failed anyway. All right, so you missed some kind of opportunity. You snatched defeat. You didn't snatch victory, you snatched defeat. You lost from the jaws of victory. So something, it was yours to lose. Like you had the opportunity, it was right there, but you didn't make it, or you didn't take advantage of the opportunity, whatever that was. All right. So this is the kind of situation that will happen frequently in movies, TV shows, everyday conversations, everyday life, when maybe you have a chance to do something, but then you don't, or you thought you could do something, but maybe you didn't really, or it wasn't your fault. But it's the same kind of idea. All right. And so there are lots of different ways to express that. So if you understand them, you try to think about it more like a native. You can even just pick one or two that you like to use. So I say, like, oh, I missed the boat. Okay. But I understand if someone says, oh, no, you snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. It's like you should have won, but you found a way to lose that. All right. It's like the girl was clearly interested in you. Why didn't you go talk with her? I was too shy or whatever. All right. So you snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. All right. So again, when you're learning, whether you're learning by yourself or you're learning with someone like me who makes it easy for you, you have to get these things. You have to understand the real language. You have to understand it the way a native would understand it. So all as a first language, like in English. And then you have to get lots of review, varied review, not just repeating things again and again. So you have to understand it like a native and review it in different ways, the same way a native does. If you can do this, even if you don't have a speaking practice partner, you will become a confident speaker because you will understand the language better. And then when you have an opportunity to speak, you will feel much more confident in that situation. Okay? So again, the typical way that people would be learning, they try to speak a lot because they think that speaking makes you fluent. But speaking doesn't make you fluent because if you're speaking, when you speak, you're not actually learning anything new. You're just repeating what you already know. And it's probably something you already feel comfortable with. So you're not going to feel more confident, try to use additional vocabulary or learn something new. Now, in a conversation, you will find, especially if you speak with people who are better speakers or native speakers, you will listen to what they say, and then you will learn things there. So that's how conversations are good. But actually, you speaking is not as helpful as people think it is. All right. So if you already feel comfortable, then go ahead and speak. But you're probably not going to learn much more from yourself, from the words you say. All right. It's always what other people are saying to you. That's how you develop that fluency. Because the whole point is to destroy doubt. If you have doubt about something, you won't use it in conversations. All right. Check last couple of comments here, and I think let's see. Someone says, missed the boat, missed the train. Yep, George, missed the rocket ride to sky high. Ah, yes, that's right. Yeah, you'll hear this same kind of thing, especially used with stocks. It's like, oh no, you missed the rocket ride, or you missed the elevator, or whatever, that kind of metaphor about something rising, going up like that. So Nico says, if I understand, you think that it's not necessary to talk to reach fluency, but if you don't practice talking, all my vocabularies is in my passive vocabulary. It would be like a child if a child doesn't speak. In the last video, I talked about this as well. Imagine someone who's mute. So mute. So a mute person cannot speak, all right? But they could still be fluent. If you spoke to them, they would understand the language. And the idea about passive vocabulary, usually it just means you don't know that vocabulary very well. It's not about like if I know something, would I feel confident saying that? If I don't feel confident, then that's where we have the passive vocabulary rather than something that you would feel confident using like in an active way. This will be our last point for today, but Nico has some good questions, so we should review this. The basic idea is that when you are learning new vocabulary, you go through different stages of understanding. So the first time, let's say this is like 0% understanding, and this is understanding, like perfect understanding. You know how to use something or say something correctly, confidently, fluently, pronunciation is great. So there's a wide range where your understanding level might be. So when you first hear something, we call that exposure. So that's here. So this, like, you hear a word or phrase, and maybe I don't know what it means, but I've heard it. I've been exposed to that. I don't feel confident about using it because all of this over here. So if this is understanding, this is doubt. All right. And as we get more understanding, we destroy more doubt. We feel more confident. Now we get up here, which is like awareness. And this is where people have a passive vocabulary. So they can understand something when other people speak. I can watch a movie and follow the movie, but I wouldn't feel confident saying that, all right? So I could watch lots of movies and not speak at all and even learn new vocabulary, like as just me, the person, not like a learner or whatever. But I'm just talking about in English, like I might learn some new vocabulary that way and not use it. But if I'm 100% confident that I understand what the vocabulary is, or maybe I hear like something like missing the boat or missing the train. So a young child will hear miss the train and you think literally like, oh no, there's like a physical train and the train left and we didn't get that train. All right, so the child is not really applying that in a figurative way to other situations that there's no actual train there. It just means losing an opportunity or a chance. All right. So as you get older, you hear someone that the situation is they lost an opportunity, and someone else says, "Oh, you missed the boat on that one. You missed the boat." And the child thinks, "Wait a minute, like there's no boat there. What are they talking about?" But like they understand, they make that connection naturally. Okay, I understand the situation. So you're doing all of this, even if you don't speak. All right. But the point, when you really understand something, you get that what I call an aha moment, where your understanding gets really better, really good, really clear, and you think, now I really understand something well, and I feel confident using that. All right, that's where you get to the ownership level. The ownership level, with your vocabulary, and that's for individual words and phrases as you understand them better. All right, so you begin with exposure, you go to awareness, and this is where most people get stuck. And the reason they get stuck, they have this passive vocabulary, it's because they still have some kind of doubt about pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, usage, whatever that thing is. That's what stops them from using that vocabulary. Okay, so you could actually know something very well and never speak. Just like a mute person it's physically impossible for them to speak, all right? Or you're born with no mouth or something like that. So you can still become fluent and understand the language, and when people are talking, or maybe you write instead of communicate like speaking. But you move through these same phases for anything like this with language. So you get exposed, you finally have awareness level when you feel, okay, now I recognize that information. It's not just some noise or sound. I understand what that is. And then I get ownership, where I control the word now. Now I really feel like it's part of me. I understand that. And I might not say the word, but if I did say it, I would feel confident about using it. Like, I missed the boat. All right. So if I'm in a situation where somebody has like forgotten something or they lost an opportunity or whatever, I could say, you missed the boat. All right. And I would use that correctly. It's like, okay, I see people using that in a movie. I'm getting naturally varied review. I'm seeing lots of different examples of people talking about missing the boat about a girl, or missing the boat about a job, or missing the boat about some other thing like that. So they had a chance to do something, but they did not do it, or they couldn't do it, or whatever. They missed the boat. They missed their chance. All right. And so the point is, if you don't feel 100% confident, it's because there's some kind of doubt. So you need to destroy that doubt to get ownership of the word. And when you do feel that ownership level, even if you don't speak, you are fluent in that vocabulary. So fluency is something that happens independently of whether you speak or not. And speaking is not what really like allows you to retain the vocabulary. I mean, I could read books or whatever and still be keeping that active in my mind. Like somebody else, I see them on a TV show talking about missing the boat. That's refreshing my mind with more naturally varied review. Okay, so the point is not like speaking developing fluency, it's fluency developing speech. Because if you don't feel confident, if you don't destroy the doubt, how are you going to speak? How would you do that? Basically, you would just be speaking and saying things that you don't really feel confident about, which you could do, but it's not really helping you. It's actually making you feel worse. And if you talk about crashing, like going back to that, like he recognized that same thing. And even children, they go through this same thing, this basically quiet period where they're just learning things. And I see this with my kids all the time. Like they're just watching a movie or they're listening to me talking, or whatever, some people talking, and then suddenly they say the word. And it's because they went through these phases where they heard something, they understood something, and they destroyed the doubt. And that's where they really felt confident about saying something. Okay? So you don't have to have a lot of people with you to practice speaking. The point is, can you get the doubt destroyed? Can either you do that by yourself or you get somebody like me to do that for you. Okay? But that's how you do it. And so again, like I don't become a better Japanese speaker simply by speaking Japanese. I get better by understanding the language better. Okay? So it's not just comprehensible input. The point is doubt destruction. That's the goal, because it's the doubt that stops you from speaking. All right? Hopefully that makes sense over there. But these are all good questions, and I'm glad, hopefully these are making more sense. Let's see. Oh, I think did I skip some things over here? Let's see. DSI, great explanation. Salvador says, Salvador mate from Mozambique. Love the explanation. Glad to hear it. Thank you for the lesson from China. See you again. Just imagine if I were your son and going on a date. I was so nervous and I told you, what are you going to say to me? I would say, hey, just relax. There are plenty of fish in the sea. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Lots of ladies out there. And you don't want to put the lady up on a pedestal because that's actually going to make her like you less. So just go and enjoy yourself and see if you're actually interested in her or not. Let's see. Missed the boat. Okay, I got those already. Okay, slip through your fingers sounds like fall through the cracks. Yep, there you go. See, if you're remembering, that's more naturally varied review for you. So these are different, like that opportunity kind of slipped past me. All right, so fell through the cracks or something like slip past is typically used more for when we like lose an opportunity. Like it slipped through my fingers. So it's the kind of expression where like I had some kind of control and I couldn't close the deal, or I couldn't finish something or get the opportunity. Let's see. Miss my lover. Well, I guess you're talking about somebody else. Let's see. Good. All right. Nice explanation. Hello, Sensei, says Keiko. Good tip. Let's see. Argentina snatches victory from the jaws of Mbappe. There you go. And Pado again says, I know you speak slower than usual for your students, but how do you speak English in your real life? Do you use different vocabulary? Your English is so understandable. I wish movies were like that. Yes. So the way I speak, it's the same way if I'm talking to a woman. I'm going to change the way I speak for the appropriate situation. So I know more people are not going to understand my normal speaking. Usually it's because I'm using things like missing the boat or whatever. Like I use more kind of idioms and phrases and things like that because I'm trying to connect with the person I'm speaking with. So I'm not trying to like speak one way with everybody. I speak in different ways with different people. So I can speak more formally if I need to, or I can speak more casually. But usually I'm trying to make a connection with the person I'm speaking with, or with the person. I'm like not trying to use with too many times in the sentence there. But the point is I change the way I speak. And if I'm speaking casually with my friends, like I will often use movie quotes and references and things like that because they know that. So I'm basing my communication on how they, or like the vocabulary they know. But you can see, if you look at like conversation videos here on YouTube that I'm in, just on our channel, you can find that, like examples of conversations from Fluent for Life. But it's a different way. You'll see me speaking differently there. Lake says, hello from Korea. I really appreciate your helpful videos and love your accents. Glad to hear it. And Americ K says, everything first in my mind is Chinese instead of English. And yes, if that's how you were thinking about English, it's because that's how you learned. So don't feel bad about that. It's not your fault. But now you can change the way you learn. You can start learning English as a first language, and then you will start speaking English as a first language. It's pretty easy how that works. So you can see, like, if you learn this way, then of course you will have trouble communicating. But if you think, how can I learn and understand like a native, then you will understand and speak more like a native, and you will feel much more confident about that. All right, Sensei, I have a question. Is it really bad to mix American English and British English? I've been told it won't help me improve. So kana? Well, I mean, it depends. Like, I think the only thing is more, there are certain pronunciations that are different and certain words that are different. Like, if I say, like, he's taking the piss, like, you taking a piss, It's like, if I say that in British English, it means, like, am I kind of joking with someone? But in American English, it means I'm actually taking a piss, like I'm at the toilet. So there's some things that have a different meaning like that, and it would be kind of like if I was speaking like Osaka Ben and Nagasaki Ben and mixing them together, and I was like wakara henne mo. And I started speaking like Osaka Ben, and I switched to Nagasaki Ben. It's like moikamba kensa. And people might hear that and they might think, like, that's interesting. He's like, you know, speaking with two different dialects, or my pronunciation is a little bit different, or I'm sounding a little bit weird. But in general, you should be getting a mix of different things if you're maybe dealing with different kinds of speakers, or if you need to watch movies and you have different kinds of speakers in those movies. So as I usually recommend, if I'm living somewhere, like I live in Nagasaki, so I'm going to hear a lot of Nagasaki Ben. You know, that makes sense. Like if I'm in Texas, I'm going to hear a lot of people speaking, you know, with a southern Texas accent. And so if your everyday life is in that, then you should focus on that. But if you like watching movies about British dramas or something, then you can learn that vocabulary too. So I wouldn't worry too much about like mixing that stuff up. But people might notice that, like if I'm in Texas and I like watching British TV shows, and I say hello to people, I'm like, well, top of the morning to you. You know, I just like like say something like that, like they would think like that's kind of weird, you know. So it might be kind of funny, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. But you know, like I could do that just as a joke, like say that to people. I talk with so I have a few different friends in Nagasaki that are foreigners from different places, like a New Zealander, so he's a Kiwi, and another friend who's an Australian, and we kind of so there's a bug, like a large cricket. What would be the Japanese equivalent? Like a korogi? No, not like a korogi. It's like I forget the name of it. But it's like a large bug called a wita. So like the Japanese or the New Zealand pronunciation is a little bit different from how I would pronounce it in English. So I would say like a weta, like weta, like, but the New Zealand pronunciation is like wita. So we were talking about that in like this, just comparing the different accents, and if you mix them together, it just sounds a little bit funny. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. But it is nice. Like I'll usually the Japanese speakers I meet who have lived abroad, they sound like the country they were living in. So obviously, like if a Japanese woman goes to New Zealand or Australia, she's going to start speaking that kind of English. Or if you have people who are, like from China living in Australia or something, they're going to be sounding more, they're going to have that Australian accent. So it's okay. Don says, why do you have to burst into these kinds of examples of missing the opportunity to talk about a girl? That previous day, I saw a foreign girl who needed help understanding what local people were trying to say, and I could help her, and at the same time taking advantage of improving my English and pick up myself a girl, a very beautiful one, but I didn't have the guts to take the step. Honestly, Doc, I felt shame. It's okay, but you learned from that. Now, I've been in that situation before. I remember when I was in high school, and I had there was this chance, I blew an opportunity. It was like I blew it. It blew up in my hand. I let it slip through my fingers. I was sitting with a girl. We were on a walk, and we were at a park. Right? It was kind of like a nature walk, and just sitting at on a log, and we were the only people there, and she was clearly waiting for me to kiss her or whatever, and I didn't do it. So we've all been there, and this is another good expression as well. When you are telling a story or showing empathy, like you show other people that I understand how you feel, you can say, we've all been there. So this is another way of saying, I know how you feel. Or I understand. Or I know. So all of these different things, again, this is more naturally varied review, but when someone tells a situation like that or describes a situation, so I know what that's like, or I know what it's like, we've all been there. We've all been there. So we have all had that opportunity or that chance, or whether it's a girl or whatever, but you miss some kind of opportunity, we've all been there. We've all been there. So we've all had that experience. I know how you feel. Or just, I understand. I understand. All right? So there are different ways you can express this, but these are the kinds of things you will see in movies like, yes, I can relate. Another good example. Very good. I can relate. So I can relate is like when you think about, I can relate is a little bit less strong because it's like a similar thing happened to me. But if you want to say I know exactly how you feel, so I know how you feel, or I know exactly how you feel because I had the exact same thing happen to me, okay? So if you can say I can relate, you can also use that to talk about missing a different kind of opportunity. So if your son is saying he felt bad because he missed a chance with some girl, you can say, well, I can relate, I missed a chance with my boss or something like that. I missed some opportunity or something like that. So I can relate is a little bit less strong because it's not the exact same situation. And people typically when you're empathizing with someone, if you can say, well, I've had the exact same thing happen to me. Okay. So I understand perfectly. I understand completely. Okay. I feel for you. Yeah. So I feel for you is when you're talking about their situation, and even though I've never lost an opportunity with a girl. Let's imagine that. So I've never missed an opportunity, but I understand, maybe somebody else has. So I understand how you feel. I feel for you. All right. So I feel bad that you have that situation. I feel for you. All right. I think everybody's getting it though. What time is it? All right. We're winding down here, but I think people are getting it. Let's see. But don't feel bad about that. There will be plenty of opportunities. But use that shame, that bad feeling, to remind yourself next time you will take that chance. Next time you will. I would tell another story about that, but this video doesn't need to continue longer than it is. Let's see, Pure Mind Edu or Edu or something like that. Why the accent in a movie is not easy to understand? Because it's just how native speakers are talking. And native speakers understand each other just fine. Because they've had lots of examples of native English. That's it. So the reason it's difficult for most learners is because they don't learn real English. That's the fundamental thing. They're not learning the real examples, the real vocabulary, the real, the real expressions like the kinds of things I'm telling you here. All right. So even if you learn those things in YouTube videos, you will find this is the most common thing you find in YouTube. Here is some real vocabulary for this. But most people don't remember what they learned because they don't learn it like a native, they don't learn it as a first language, and they certainly don't get much review. Okay? So you have to correct that problem for yourself, especially if you're learning by yourself, or you just have someone like me do the hard work for you. So all this stuff is already done, it's all waiting, it's all ready. All you have to do is just relax and go through the program, and it will get you fluent automatically. So that's what Fluent for Life is. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can click on the link in the description below this video. All right, last couple of questions over here. Keiko says, "Wakarimasu, arigatou." Glad to hear it. British accent, give me a bottle of water, very funny. Yes, so that a bottle of water, and we kind of make fun of that, and British people make fun of our accent as well. It's all in good fun, All right, thank you so much, says Keiko. And Pablo says, I've been there. Okay, we did that one already. Jano, the beast. And so this is almost like a katakana word where I'm trying to figure out where is it like Noth best? Like Janoth best? Or it could be Jano or something. Hey guys, hey everyone, says Johnny. How are you? I feel for you. And Chris says British accent, be like Aripo. That's right, Aripo. And so they have those the letters, but they just don't use them. All right, are you going on vacation next week? Yes. So next week there will be no live videos, but again, it's an excellent time to review. Go back and actually review the things that maybe you have not seen yet or something, but continue to review, and you will feel more. I think there will be maybe some short videos released. All right, so help me to be fluent. Again, go back and watch this video, and you will enjoy that. So no, there will be no live videos next week, but go back. You don't need a live video to get fluent. There are probably other videos I have, many of them, that you have not seen. Go watch those. All right, that's why they're here. Don't wait for like the exact live video. I'm often talking about the same things anyway. I'm just trying to give people more review. I'm trying to trick you into getting fluent. All right. In Chile, we don't pronounce the S. Okay. Where are you going? I'll be in Okinawa for a few days. I just won't be here during my usual recording times. But have a fantastic day. If you'd like to learn more about Fluent for Life, or especially Frederick for improving your pronunciation, you can click on the links in the description for that. And I will see you, I guess, like over a week, about a week. And have a fantastic day. See you then. Bye-bye.